denying the special prosecutor an arrest warrant for Jay Lee. So do you think the storm is over? This is one big company, nearly 15% of Kospi's market value.
Well, I think their worries are definitely not over. It is true Lee Jae-yong, for now, as the judge decided, is not going to jail because apparently there was not enough evidence to hold the CEO of Samsung in prison at this point. That's good news for him, but probably this looks like it's the last piece of good news in a while, because there seems no doubt that the company in general is just involved in this big corruption scandal. We're talking about $35 million that they gave to foundations that are close to the president and to friends of the former president, and that the government in turn helped them with the merger of two of their own companies. And yeah, this corruption scandal is unsolved at this point, and even though the CEO is, as of right now, not going to jail, it seems that there is definitely, the trouble is not over for Samsung in general.
Okay, last, thank you very much. But again, remember, tomorrow we have a lot to talk about the Trump's inauguration. One report says, the White House is about $387.8 million. Now you have a billionaire who is coming there. Does Donald Trump have enough money to buy the White House? Very important question. Tomorrow, let's talk about those political issues. So let's get out to the U.S. market, where the index futures are pointing to a lower opening today. Traders are showing the confirmation of the Treasury Secretary Pico, the president-elect. His name is Stephen Mnuchin. Congress may be asking him questions about his role in his former firm's foreclosures on homeowners. The market is also going to watch out for Goldman Sachs partners' comments about the dollar. His comments about China and this currency will be of big interest. On the data front, we have the initial initial claims today. Housing starts and the Philadelphia Fed survey, all about 8:30 Eastern. That's about an hour or two from now, Nigerian time. On the earnings front, Union Pacific and Bank of New York Mellon, NYM, among companies said to report before the bell. Then American Express and the IBM are reporting after the markets open proper, about 3 o'clock Nigerian time. Asian markets were mixed Thursday. Shares of the Japanese electronic maker Toshiba tumbling nearly 16% after a report suggested the tech giant was considering the sale of its semiconductor business. Elsewhere, Samsung shares pulled back after you heard earlier that the chief, Janet Y. Yellen, is not being arrested on corruption charges relating to the president being impeached. That's our President Park. Japan, the Nikkei 225 averaged about 177.88, and in China, the Shanghai Composite about 11.31 points south today. Okay, so let's take a break. We'll be back. Then we're looking at some of these stories, but again, we have a lot to talk about the markets here. But let's get in here what the Nigerian market really looks like before we go on that break. A little bit eager for a breather. Look at the market. Downbeat treasury bills and the bond auctions yesterday at the marketplace by the debt office and Nigeria's central bank as far as the treasury bills are concerned. So what's the market direction the morning after? That's what we always call it. Let's get downtown Lagos to have this telephone conversation with Emmanuel Ojilabi, who is a fixed income dealer at Sterling Bank, one of Nigeria's lenders. Emmanuel, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, thank you. Take us through the debt auction and the treasury bills auction of Wednesday.
Okay. At the treasury bill auction of Wednesday, we witnessed a big decline in rates as against what we saw at the last auction. For the 91 days, the top rate is 13.899. For 182 days, the top rate is 17.25, and the long end of the market, 354 days, the top rate is 18.6499.
But what does that tell us? What does the what's the stop rate tells us about investors and you dealers' sentiments as far as the government security is concerned?
Okay, on the money market, the sentiment towards the money market instrument is a bit high. Investors are much interested in investing in the treasury bill market. As you can see, the rate dropped from 14 to 13.89, from 70.5 to 70.25, and from 18.65 to 18.64. However, on the bond market, what we experienced at the auction of yesterday was that the rate moved up marginally. Currently, the yield on the market is 16.89 for 2021. For 2026, 16.9945, and points at 2036, 16.9920.
In other words, now you put the auction for January behind us as far as the Nigerian government Naira paper is concerned. Where do we move from here, Emmanuel? Where do we go from here?
Yeah, where do we move on from here? The fact remains that government deficit funding, about 53%, is going to come from this local market. Almost 1.25 trillion. Government is funding from this local market. And as we speak, the sentiment is for higher yield on the bond market. So we're going to see yield moving up marginally in the bond market over the month end.
Okay, thank you very much. Emmanuel Ojelabi from Sterling Bank, fixed income dealer. Of course, the market ends tomorrow. We start Monday next week, and we're wrapping up the first month of 2017, technically speaking. Okay, let's hear from the richest man on the African continent, the president of the Dangote Group, Aliko Dangote. Nigerian-born himself says at the World Economic Forum that a joint effort between government and private sector to tackle the power deficit on the continent remains a key element in boosting the economy of sub-Saharan Africa. Dangote was speaking on one of the panels at the ski resort of Davos in Switzerland. The Davos event ends tomorrow. Meantime, the billionaire advises African governments to imbibe policy consistency, which he says oftentimes scuttle the business plan of investors and discourages others from investing in the power sector. Let's go on that break I called for earlier on, shall we? We're back in two.